Ahoy VC, welcome to the Personal Oasis. This is the Blind Island. I'm your host Isaac, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite artists of all time. He's had a career that has spanned almost 60 years and just recently came out with an album called Rough and Rowdy Ways. And to celebrate the release of that record, we're going to be taking a look at the legendary, the immortal Bob Dylan. Now, Bob Dylan has had a huge indelible impact on pop culture and music as a whole. He inspired scores of artists to dive deep and look introspectively into their own lyricism, and I think we can all be very appreciative for that. Now, I'm going to be sharing 5 albums of his that I believe everyone should listen to, and they are definitely my favorites by him. Now, that's not to say there are some on here that I wish I couldn't also share, but if I were to hear and rank his entire discography, we'd be here all day. So we're not going to be doing that. So to celebrate his latest release, let's get into it. Now, the first one here at number 5, I have Bob Dylan's New Morning. On this record, he sounds absolutely thrilled to be alive. He's really enjoying his family life, and you can hear that dripping off of every single song on here. He sounds relaxed. He sounds at peace. He isn't really putting on the Bob Dylan affect that was found in some of his other 60s material. This album came after his very contentious release, Self-Portrait, which I find to be very interesting, and I think that people are finally giving it a critical reappraisal, which I believe it definitely deserves. It's messy but wonderful. And this was seen as a return to form, but I don't necessarily think it was a return to form. It was more just Dylan being who he was, enjoying what he enjoys, and singing about the things that really meant a lot to him at the time, namely fatherhood, finding peace at home, and just finding the joy in little things. And that's why I really enjoy this record, and my wife and I usually will listen to this one on a regular basis. So great album, highly recommend it if you're looking for a positive boost. Next I have the first in Bob Dylan's trilogy of electric albums, and that would be Bringing It All Back Home. Now, a lot of people had known Bob Dylan as a folkie throughout most of the early 60s, the voice of a generation and a prophet. And then after basically saying goodbye to folk music, he went hard and heavy here in this album, banging it out first with Subterranean Homesick Blues, which no one had really ever heard something like this before, where he's just spitting out really weird, phantasmagorical lyrics, and you're like going on this strange trip. It is a treat, even today, to continue to listen to. Fantastic song, fantastic record, and I think that a lot of people will either enjoy that first side with these really long, really short, I should say, trippy, weird, electric blues fried numbers, and then go to the flip side and get that kind of acoustic stream of consciousness lyricism that he was really known for, especially after Another Side of Bob Dylan. He takes what he was playing with on that record and hones it to an absolutely wonderful degree on this record with songs like East of Eden and Mr. Tambourine Man and Goodbye Baby Blue. It's all over now, Baby Blue, I'm so sorry. But yeah, fantastic album, really, really worth listening to, and one of my absolute favorites. Now let's get on to a record that came after his electric period. He was involved in a motorcycle accident. He had been touring non-stop, really just on drugs, losing weight fast, and then 1967 hits. Everyone's coming out with psychedelic music. It's crazy. It's just a blast of different ideas coming out, and Bob Dylan comes out with John Wesley Harding. and it is basically antithetical to everything else that was going on. This one is stripped down, laid bare, and forward thinking, in my opinion. He was not going along with what everybody else was doing. He decided to do a far more intimate, introspective album, and I think that the only thing that brings this album down a little bit in my estimation is that his harmonica is so hot in the mix. Sometimes it's a little too harsh for my ear, but the songs on here are so fantastic. I Dreamed I Saw St. Augustine is one that I always go back to. I Pity the Poor Immigrant is beautiful, and then it also has touches of country elements that he would be hitting on later on with Nashville Skyline. And I'll Be Your Baby Tonight being the major marking point for that. So really, really great album that is a wonderful acoustic look while everybody else was just getting high. Dylan had done that, now he's going back to basics. Really, really great stuff. Then we have, of course, the immortal Highway 61 Revisited. It's an album I don't really need to talk about. It's been talked about ad nauseum, but if you haven't listened to it, you need to. It really is the moment when Springsteen said it best when he was listening to it on the radio. It was like somebody kicked open the doors to his mind. And I think that this is exactly what this record does. And my favorite song on here is actually the only acoustic number, and that's Desolation Row. And that's where he takes all of his wonderful, just obscure avant-garde lyricism and brings it to this wonderful Alice in Wonderland type story that is just full of losers, dragouts, and loners. And I can't get enough of it. The guitar playing on there is so beautiful with that Spanish guitar lilting throughout the entire thing, and his harmonica work has never sounded better. So check out Highway 61 Revisited. And I'm sure that people can hear this song going on in the background. It's my #1 favorite Bob Dylan record and my #4 favorite of all time at my top 100, and that would be Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks. And I purposefully chose to bookend New Morning and Blood on the Tracks. New Morning is the bright, positive side of relationships. Blood on the Tracks is the opposite. It's where betrayal has occurred, it's where the trust is gone, and both parties are to blame. And he has never, to my ears, written an album that is better than this. He just sounds honest, real, and just raw. A fantastic display of songwriting ability found on here, and just naked, raw emotion. I love this record. He has gone on record saying that this is not about his marriage, but you know, that's up for debate. It doesn't matter if it is. It's about relationships. And I think anyone who's going through heartbreak has to listen to this album. So my favorite album by Bob Dylan and the top album that I recommend. So guys, what did you think of the video? What Bob Dylan records would you suggest? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be posting a couple of other videos here in the coming days. Look out for a review of Johnny Cash's Bitter Tears, and I'll be joining in on a vinyl thread. Which one will it be? I'll show you soon. And I hope that you guys have a great day on your own personal oasis. Cheers.